Hey everyone, welcome to Thursday's Lunch and Learn. Today I have Megan Ramus here to talk about her role being a Facebook community manager. So I want to jump straight in and I'd love to know a little bit about you, Megan. Tell everyone where you live and a little bit about your family.
Okay, so I live in Erdenheim. It's a suburb right outside of Philadelphia. I have two boys. I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And I mean, I guess I'll kind of jump into how I found you, Emily. Does that work?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was an elementary school teacher for a really long time.
I have to stop there. We have so many brand new school teachers in the group. So holler, if you're a school teacher, leave us a comment and let us know. Okay, keep going.
So I actually had a medical diagnosis. I was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma. So I had to, stop teaching, obviously, and I went through treatment for a long time, and it just kind of left me in a place where, I don't know, I got home and I got used to being with my kids, and there's some side effects that just make it really difficult. If you are a teacher out there, you're on your feet all the time, and I just was looking for kind of other options, and I started tutoring online. So I actually still do that. But I just wanted something different, something beyond teaching. And I think I was like Pinteresting, work at home jobs or something. And I started following you, and I just thought, you know what? I want to see, I just want to see if I can do something else or what else to do. And that's kind of how I ended up in the crash course, and I'm so glad that I did.
Oh my God. So tell everyone, how long have you been out of work since your diagnosis and your time away from being a school teacher? How long had it been?
So years. I mean, I was diagnosed maybe 5 years ago. But I tried to go back. I went back, I did one treatment and then I tried to go back and it was too much. And so I took a little bit more time off. So I've been feeling good and wanting to work for, I would say, maybe over a year, probably closer to 2 years. I've been doing the online tutoring. But I just don't have the stamina to be back in the classroom all the time.
Oh my gosh, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
But tell me about the online tutoring. Is that like a freelance business? Are you working under the umbrella of another business?
Yeah, so I'm an independent contractor, but the company that I work for, I guess, is VIP Kids. It's a pretty well-known ESL company. So I teach English to kids in China.
Oh, cool.
And their time difference is they're 12 hours different than us. So I teach, for them, it's like after school, but for me, it's why my kids are still asleep. So
what time is that for you?
So I get up at 5 a.m.
Oh my gosh, how many hours do you do?
So I just do it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can make your own schedule. I can take off whenever I want to, but I'll teach from 5:30 in the morning until 7:30 when my kids get up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What a cool fit. I love hearing these random little jobs people fall into.
Yeah.
You can use your skill set and make it work. So
it's nice. And, some people do really try to go in full time, and you can make all sorts of money referring people. That's just not it's just not my thing.
Okay. Yeah.
To sell it to my friend, it's just not my comfort zone. So that's why I was just looking for something else besides just doing that.
So how did you find me? Just curious.
So I think it was Pinterest. I think I Pinterested ideas for working from home. And I think I must have ended up on something. I don't remember exactly.
So funny because I have not done a lot of Pinterest for myself. And now that we've gone through and that's how I started, right? So
yeah.
I actually just gave a Pinterest presentation. I've given 3 in the last 7 days. And I'm like, okay, now that my rebranding is done, I'll start to get on there because, I just was waiting for some inspiration. But Pinterest is such a fun way to find free articles and help. So you found me there. And then tell everyone when you took the crash course.
So I think it was February, right? The beginning of February. And then, when I joined your group, the Facebook group, there were different job apps posted. And, I think I was only into maybe week 2 or 3 of the course when I saw the job posting for this, my golden ring client that I'm with now. And so I was apprehensive. I'm like, am I really ready for this? Should I do this? And the application was a lot. Like it was very time consuming. And so I was like, okay, I can either do like my crash course homework or I could, put that aside just for a minute and focus on doing this. And so I'm so glad I did decide to just go for it.
I'm so glad too. So just to bring people in the loop, she works for Tamara, who is she runs Southern Adornments. Do you want to tell everyone about her business?
Yeah, so Southern Adornments is the name of the business, and she creates door hangers. Instead of a wreath on your front door, you can make these door hangers, which I didn't know was a whole business. But Tamara's awesome. I think she started just doing them on her own, but now she runs this huge business where she teaches people how to make these door hangers, and they can buy templates, and she teaches them painting techniques. And that's sort of where I come in. She has her own community she has her own membership where people sign up to, belong, I guess, to her club where she continues to teach them.
Yes.
Access to her.
So I actually included her job description inside my Facebook community manager course just so people could see. But I mean, they put that sucker everywhere. That wasn't like a, hey, Emily, only post it to your girls. So it was a very competitive position. Can you tell everyone about the job description and what you had to do and how that?
I mean, it was a serious document. There were lots of different situational things that they posted or that they asked about. So, if you saw somebody say this within the community, how would you handle it? And then there were other things where they wanted me to just brainstorm and think like, what kind of a post would you write to engage these women? Or the one that I really spent a lot of time on was there was an argument between group members, like, you took my idea. And so I had to write my response, like, how would I handle that? And so I think my background as a teacher was really helpful, honestly, for that, as a mediator. Right.
Yeah.
Or I think as moms too, right? We're always doing that.
Gosh, and it's such like a common sense thing, and it's got to come from somebody who's like sincere and empathetic and can just, I don't know, be a people person and understand where people are coming from. It's not the right job for everybody. I'll tell you that. So that is really neat that they made you practice like any job. Even if you're applying for a restaurant, you have to do the personality test to make sure you're going to be an okay busboy. I mean, it's out there.
Exactly. And honestly, if it hadn't been something like that, I'm sure I wouldn't have got, I don't think they wouldn't have looked twice at my resume. I mean, I didn't have tons of experience, Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm in my neighborhood Facebook group, or, I ran the third grade website for my, or the third grade Facebook group for my son. But that was pretty much the extent of my group management experience when I applied. But
that should give everybody here in this group so much hope, because we have all been a part of a group. We've seen the group. Some of us have volunteered and done that position, and you can go from that to a paid position.
Yeah.
Knowing the right things to say, having some connections, finding those job opportunities, but you don't have to have tons of experience. Yeah. So did they say experience was required in the job? Do you remember?
I know I just looked at it before I came on with you. I looked back at my resume, but it just said list the experience that you've had. And so I did. I wrote, I ran the third grade.
Good.
Phillips's web, classroom web page or whatever that my kids were on. And another part I really stressed that I did have was the communication. And as a teacher, I said I had to communicate with families and build those relationships and, build relationships with my classroom and with other teachers on the staff. So I was able to kind of bring that to it, but it wasn't specific to Facebook community management.
Yes. And the skills that everybody has done in our past life, in our former life, in our former jobs, it can translate to the online space. You just need to think outside of the box and get creative like that. Like, even if you hadn't been a teacher, I guarantee you could have phrased, some kind of your family dynamic, you could bring that to the table, of course, or like any kind of past work experience in dealing with people and interpersonal skills. So yeah, that's awesome. And way to play up the teacher thing. Everyone in this group who's a teacher, you have strong assets. Like you are so hireable and people want you. You have a good work ethic and you have that communication skill. So highlight your strengths. Can you, so how long did it take to get hired? Like walk us through the process of what happened.
So it was on February 21st that I first applied. And then I did have a callback. You know, I had to submit a short video, and then they scheduled an interview. And it wasn't with Tamara. Like I didn't meet Tamara until after I was hired.
Yeah.
So I was hired on March 3rd, and then I think I signed my contract March 30th. But my situation, I think, was also kind of unique because Tamara hired someone to, like somebody, this woman, Diana, who specializes in helping small business owners with community management. Like that's her niche. And so she kind of put me through a crash course in her own right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know if she's, you know, where does she find her hiring tool or hiring pool?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's the one who created that interview for Tamara, but she's, you know, I just went through your course as well, which was awesome. And honestly, yeah, it was different than what I learned from her. Like from her, I learned a lot of like bigger picture, like onboarding and like I think she's more for the small business owner who's looking to hire a community manager and not as much like community manager day-to-day kind of things.
Okay.
Yeah, like I found your tutorial like with the like just specific like how to do things on Facebook. I found that to be super helpful.
Oh my gosh, this is good. I did not pay her to say this, anybody. I was going to talk about it at the end, but I just released a Facebook community management workshop. It's like a course just to teach everybody the ins and outs of being a Facebook community manager for a small business owner, because it's more than just accepting, you know, and approving new members and making posts and, you know, muting people and kicking them out. You know, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
And it's scary when you have control over some of the settings and your clients are coming to you wanting you to come up with engagement ideas like you had to do in your own interview process. So this course is like a 2-hour crash course. So I am so glad you found it helpful. I actually meant to ask you that on the side before we started this. Oh. How did mine rate compared to hers? But hers is onboarding people to get ready for the team, like more of the team systems and processes, right?
Right. And just like kind of the bigger framework, like from the business owner, I think's point of mind, like how can a community help you and how can that help your business grow, kind of a thing.
Okay.
But like I watched your crash course and I was like, okay, I have to go. Like, let me check the entrance questions that they get asked when they come into the community, things like that. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah. I have to say, I just signed on with a new client and I was talking to them and I just went through a couple quick little things they should do with their Facebook group just to kind of give them a win and trust me and not charge them. And they immediately implemented it and they're like on it. And it showed me as a VA or, you know, consultant or whatever you call me right now, that they are willing to act on it. And it showed, and they learned from me that I know what I'm talking about. I'm here to help them. So it was like a nice little thing, but you don't know that unless you've done it or, you know, you see the big picture of business. So the course has tons of that little stuff. So, okay. So tell me why, okay, I have a couple questions. Let's go back to the video you sent in, because I do say this is a good thing. Now, first of all, if the job description tells you all to do certain things, you have to do it. You have to follow the directions. They are immediately throwing out applications of people who don't follow the rules. It's a test. If they say don't DM, don't DM. You'll disqualify yourself. If they say send in a video and you don't, you're not getting hired. So can you tell everyone about your video and how you did it and like how you feel?
Yeah, I'm going to be totally honest. So it took me hours. Like, fortunately, this was pre-COVID stuff and my kids were at school. And even like It probably took me 4 or 5 hours probably total to do this application. Like, I really did invest a lot of time in
Good.
to, you know, professionally answering, I guess, the questions, and I tried to be creative, and I love writing, and so, I really just I really took my time with it. And then the video was like the last thing. It was like I could just send it once I got the video done. So they suggested that I use Loom. So I had never done that before, but it was easy to figure out.
It's free. Everybody use
Yeah.
Loom.
And I did like a practice one, and I was still like in the clothes that I wear for my tutoring that I do in the morning. And I like my background was goofy. It was like I still have it. It's like I have like a map for those are all the props I use when I tutor. And I watched it back and I was like, you know what? This is me. Like I had planned on editing that, or I had planned on sort of critiquing myself and then refilming it and looking more professional, and I didn't. And so I just sent the video and I did write a little disclaimer next to it. I said, this was my first take. I just wanted you really to get a sense of me. Like this is
Own it.
me, come and get it kind of a thing. So fortunately I didn't scare them off, I guess. I don't know if I would recommend that, but
had on nice clothes because you had been tutoring at least top half.
Yeah.
So, good. Your husband wasn't sleeping in the background on a recliner, right?
No. I was definitely still in an office, situation, but it wasn't super polished. I didn't go back and edit it. I probably said too many likes or, but
yeah. It was probably good you don't come across too professional, because those professional, super perfect people don't have my trust. They don't.
That's kind of how I felt too. I was like, and they didn't want me to talk about anything specific. They said, just send a video why you think you would be a good fit for this job. So, it was a 2-minute video, and I just kind of said, here I am. This is it. I'm good at, and I used my experience that I had. Like, I like to communicate. I love to write. I'm on Facebook a lot anyway.
I know that one tactic in an interview process is to tell a story, like highlight, something you've achieved or gotten through a sticky situation or something that's good. Did you tell a story, or were you just kind of like general, like this is?
No, they did. When I had after that written application, when I had my first interview, or there was only one, when I had the interview, they did ask me some of those situational things, like how have you helped, or what was a time when you had a problem at work. And I did. It was hard. I didn't have anything prepared like that, but I talked about having I moved from being a classroom teacher to the art teacher for a little while.
Okay.
And some of the people in the art department, didn't like that they weren't consulted on my move. Like they were kind of like, oh, why is she moving from this? She's not an artist. And so I just talked about how I handled, dealing with a coworker that was an issue.
Well, can you tell me now? I'm curious. I want to know, how did you handle that?
It was I just had to not let it bother me. It was somebody who I rarely saw. It wasn't somebody that I saw on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
It was somebody who worked at the high school who was like the head of the art department. And I just said, I'm not a professional artist, but I'm a really good teacher. And
I'm not pretending.
Exactly.
Okay. That's interesting. The people drama, because you're always going to get that. So if you can paint it in a good light where you came off, rational and fair and not dramatic, that's always good. And we all run across that, The point is, you don't, I think in those type of answers, I'm just thinking out loud right now, you don't always make it someone else's fault. Like you come to the table with solutions. Like that's what the interviewer wants to see. How do you problem solve and think on your feet and treat people nice, especially if you're going to be the community manager.
Right.
So, oh gosh. So tell everybody what your job looks like now. How many hours a week do you work, and how many groups do you manage, and what is your life like now?
Yeah. So Tamara has a free group, Door Hanger Painter Tips, I think it's called, which I'm not involved with. I'm like, she hired me specifically for this other group called the Painters Clubhouse, where the people have signed up for this, it's a monthly membership that they pay for. And so I'm just in there. I don't have to worry about engagement. I think that's something that a lot of communities really, that's big. And these people want to be here and they want to share what they've been working on. So engagement hasn't been, I think I'm lucky in that respect.
Yeah, and I think the DIY world is a little bit easier for that sake because people are so excited and they like to share and critique and have opinions and cheer each other on. So that I do like that the industry that you're in. But that's cool. That's a really good point. The free groups, you have to bring this whole other aspect to it of how do I keep this group active?
Right. So, the activity is there. And then a lot of it is just helping them navigate things. I kind of, I organized like before there weren't units. And so I needed a learning group and created these units where, like there's a how-to unit. There's some of the members aren't super tech savvy. So I've been doing a lot of like, here's how you log on to this, or, here's how you can use this. We organize Zoom parties for them where they can like get together and mingle and meet other people in the group in these Zoom parties.
Oh, that's such a fun idea.
Yeah, it's great. They have a lot of fun. I've been to a few of them. Sometimes Tamara hosts them, or, she'll have somebody else jump in. Even some of the members host them sometimes. But I do a lot of like how for people that have never done Zoom. I feel like now that we're in this Corona world, I feel like everybody knows how to do Zoom now, but
yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. Even teachers, all of our teachers are learning, and it was a struggle at the beginning, but they're getting the hang of it.
Yeah. But a lot of my posts are informative. Like she'll have a certain tutorial scheduled. A guest artist will come in to teach something. And so it's all done in her Kajabi membership site, a lot of it. But I'm just kind of like the reminder person. So I spend a lot of time in Canva, creating little graphics to go with the post, like, hey, 2:00 today, make sure you're here, or things like that.
So a lot of keeping a membership happy and, your retention rates high are having a community manager like Megan, who is just there to answer questions quickly and facilitate things and help people out when they're stuck. Otherwise, people can get really overwhelmed really quickly. And that's the number one reason why people quit membership sites is they get overwhelmed and there's too much content. So having you in there organizing it, kind of spoon feeding some of the events and is really helpful because, all of these women, some of them probably have, businesses and a full-time job. Some of them, it might be a hobby, but every single person there is busy. So you really have to come with this empathetic, nice place of serving because you are probably getting the same question over and over. Have you templatized any of it, or do you have your canned responses like ready to go in a document so you can copy and paste it?
I do. I'm kind of building that. That's a work in progress, but yeah. The one thing everybody's really nice. Like I haven't had any issues, there had like the tone of any of so far, I should knock on wood, I guess, but it's all been really friendly and helpful. One issue I do have is like the customer service kind of questions.
Oh yeah.
So, we want to keep that away. We want this to be like a fun community where they come for inspiration and ideas, not like I can't log in or what's, I didn't get this when I thought I was supposed to, or those types of things. Okay. So I have been really trying to make it a point to, I have my canned response, please contact customer support at, for those sort of things. And that's the one thing I've really had to stay on top of and sort of be tough with.
Yeah, and you have to kind of train them and teach them and steer the group to be the type of community you want. So do you guys approve posts, or is it a free-for-all in there?
Free-for-all.
Okay. That's always a big question people have.
Yeah. And then I'll mention too, so after I got this awesome job, and I don't know if I said, but it's 20 hours a week for Tamara. So, that's a lot. That was my first job.
Yeah.
But then after that, you had also reached out looking for somebody who knew art history. And so I connected with another person.
What was her name?
What is it?
Is it Lotus?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I connected with Lotus and I was like, I'm going through this community training and, I had the right background. So I'm also, working for her a few hours a week as well.
Oh my God.
Her with her free group, and then she has a paid group as well. So,
Oh my gosh. I'm glad you brought that up. I meant to follow up with you and figure out what kind of job you ended up getting. I know that when I was first talking to her, she's like, I don't know if you're going to find my unicorn. I need somebody who's in education and art and knows digital media. And I'm like, oh, you just wait. We post inside our student groups, and we had a handful. We actually had to cut it off, and she ended up hiring two.
Yeah.
Two of our students, and you're one of them who has this unique magical background who can help her out. Yeah. So that is awesome. So how many?
That's a much different dynamic, I guess, than the DIY kind of a group, but it's still, it's been neat, and it's been neat to be in that open site too, as well as the paid smaller group.
Yeah. So how many hours a week is that for you now?
So it's like 2 to 3 for Lotus at this point.
Okay. So you're just under 25 hours a week. How does that feel? You want more?
Honest answer?
Yeah.
If my kids were going to school, like if life was normal life, then I would be still actively looking for a lot more. Yeah. But the way things are right now, I'm kind of good.
Good.
I still would like to try some other things as well. I don't know if I only want to be a community. I love what I'm doing, but I'm interested in trying other things too. So I've kind of been on the lookout for smaller.
Okay, so tell me, so I can keep my eyes open for you. What do you want to do? And I'm thinking maybe project based, maybe ongoing if it's the right fit. Tell me what you want to do.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the design part of it. I really do. I like the graphic part, the design part. I'm interested with doing something with Pinterest maybe too. And I like writing. So like getting into helping people with their blogs and stuff like that. I don't know. I guess I just don't really know exactly what's out there. So.
Yeah. I just posted a job this morning too with a wedding blogger. Did you see that? She needed help with a blogger and a Pinterest.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
That would be up your alley. And the creative fun.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Shanti, who was on our show a couple weeks ago, and she's having to write articles about foot fungus. I'm like, no, the wedding business sounds fun, and you would have a ton of pictures to work with, which would make your life easier. Yeah, but go check out that job.
Right.
But I'll let you know as things come in. I'll think about it. You don't want to overbook yourself right now. Just with this time, I don't know about you, but Maryland just announced that we're done for the academic year. I think we're one of the last states to do it.
Oh.
But the kids aren't going back to school.
Oh, no. Okay. No, ours are not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our school goes through late June. I think a lot of East Coast does. So just kind of having that hit me, I'm like, okay, don't take on too much, because I learned my lesson last summer. It's hard enough for me to show up here for a live, honestly, with kids home.
Well, that's what I'm thinking too. So in Philadelphia, they're talking about not having summer camps and not having public pools open. And so
what are you gonna do?
That's when I would do work. That's when I would have chunks of time to myself to do this work. So
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
I was already trying to figure out the right combination of summer camps that got everybody out of the house. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll just me playing in the sprinkler a lot in our swamp of a backyard.
Great.
So, gosh, so how do you feel so did you finish the whole crash course?
I did. Yeah. It took me a while to go back. Yeah. I kind of was into this new training to get ready for Painters Clubhouse. Oh, and I was hired 2 days before the launch. The Painters Clubhouse already existed, but I guess they have 2 times a year where they accept new members. So I started right before the launch. So it was just a little bit chaotic. So that was my world for about 2 weeks. But then once I kind of got the hang of what I was doing and I understood how the business worked, then I went back and and finished.
That is really cool. You got to be part of a launch right away. Did you learn a lot by watching?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was just tricky because in the membership site, the new members would have questions. And I didn't really know the answers. It would be like, fortunately, the team at Southern Endurance was super helpful and friendly. And I would just shoot a message to somebody like, what are they talking about? What is this?
Oh, good, good. That's always nice when there's somebody you can ask. It's so hard onboarding in general, let alone during a launch. And then during a launch, everybody has questions anyway. And I've had to fill that role, like on the chat desk and just helping out during launches. And thank God we got more organized and we had that, spreadsheet and document to research and copy and paste FAQs. But I don't always know the like randomest, littlest answer that somebody wants to know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
I'm
want
so much better at that now. Like I already feel better for, their next launch in August. I'm like, oh, I got that now. It was just
good. Oh my gosh. I'm so proud of you for just jumping in, even though you're just started the crash course.
Yeah, I'm glad I did too. I mean, I am. I'm glad I made that choice. Like I definitely thought about it. I'm like, do I really want to, like, what's a better use of my time? I knew I only had a few hours a week to give. And so I'm glad I went for it.
What would you say to somebody who's starting now? We have a lot of people who are thinking about getting online and not really sure if this is a legit business, if there's opportunities out there. Like, what would you say to somebody who's thinking about working virtually?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that there are opportunities. I mean, I think so many things now are moving online that it seems like, if anything, I think online is even busier the past few months than, there's more people needing help that are moving their business this way.
Do you find people coming to you asking you for, what am I trying to say, references to hire? Does that make sense? Do you find business owners, now that you have such a visible role, do people say, hey, will you help me find a Megan?
I haven't experienced that yet.
Okay.
No.
You might as you get more involved and people are like, ooh, I know Megan. Let's ask her who we should hire.
And I mean, to be honest, I jumped right into this role before I finished going through the crash course. So when we were setting up this interview, I was like, oh my gosh, I better finish setting up my Facebook page. I really haven't been promoting, I haven't been out there looking that hard just because I've been busy trying to get good at what I'm doing. If that makes sense.
Don't forget that aspect. I did the same thing for years and years. I didn't build my own presence, and just do it. It doesn't mean that, you're going to leave your job, but have it out there and build that safety net. And, who knows where this could take you as you learn things and your own skill set of being a teacher and the experience you're learning in memberships. Like, who knows? But I'm glad you got that going.
I was gonna say, one tip I would give too is, and I feel like I've been sucked into it lately, but in a good way. Like I've been intentionally just joining a lot of different communities and seeing what their onboarding is like, and seeing what kind of questions they ask, and seeing how it's organized. And I'm kind of overwhelmed. Like my email inbox is crazy with all these things, but it's helpful too. I mean, I was writing the community guidelines for the Painters Clubhouse site. And so, I just went to like people that you mentioned, or people that I know, are like the Amy Porterfield site, or, I would just go to those sites and try to see like, okay, well, what did they do? Because obviously, that's a good formula. So
you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just need to collect your research and make it fit for your clients. Does anyone have any questions for Megan? Please feel free to leave them in the comments and we'll try to answer them before she goes. So what would you tell? I have another advice from Megan question. So we have a lot of people in the crash course who I think are struggling to finish or struggling to put themselves out there. They have a lot of fear. And I think a lot of people, it stems from, lack of confidence, or, just scared to do it. Like, what would you say to one of your fellow students right now to encourage them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's worth a shot. That's how I felt, when I applied for this. I didn't have all the experience. I didn't have all the qualifications, but I thought I'm just going to, try to knock them out with what I can do, not what I have done, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I was apprehensive I love going to school. I mean, I love learning new things, and I knew that like the things that you were teaching us within the crash course, I'm like, I know I can do that. Like I can figure it out. Like I'm confident in myself in that way.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I was worried about getting an actual client. Like I am uncomfortable approaching people, I'm uncomfortable. I'm just kind of awkward. And I couldn't picture myself taking what I learned and what I know and actually like trying to sell myself to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have to, it was like, I already knew that this opportunity, they were looking for someone. So I was more comfortable with that than sort of like approaching somebody like, hey, do you need this? So that's what worked for me.
That's usually how it's been for me too. I've had people just kind of come to me. I haven't had to be salesy, but oh God, I had a really good question in my head for a second. Like quarantine right here. Well, if you feel comfortable, Deborah was asking how much you charge. Do you feel comfortable sharing that, or do you want to give like a ballpark range?
Yeah, I mean, so this position came with, it wasn't like, it was advertised for 20 hours a week, $20 an hour. So that's what I'm doing for Tamara for the.
That's awesome.
But I mean, to me, that's awesome. It's my first gig, and knowing that it's 20 hours a week and $20 an hour seems good to me.
Oh, I think that's amazing. I mean, my story. I started charging $10 an hour.
Yeah.
And I was doing like 4 a month at the beginning. So I was thrilled to have, $60 in my bank account. Well, if you do it was
in my head to try, if I do try something else. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty, I feel like $20 would be now my minimum that I would do for Facebook or for community management in particular.
Yeah.
But just starting something new, I mean, I always say like $15 an hour, 15 to 18, I would even start from if they're hiring me without the experience.
Yeah. And I would only offer that to maybe your first client, but once you get that first client, you start upping your rates and start charging more, because you will book out because you have the skills that people need.
Yeah.
So did the crash course give you any kind of confidence, or did it help you in getting the job at all? Like, how did the crash course impact you?
I guess I never would have even known about the job. But also, like, I had never used Canva before the crash course. I didn't know Kajabi, that was like a nonsense word to me. I didn't know. I just didn't know any of the like, I guess, vocabulary for this word, for this world, for this virtual assistant world.
I can remember starting when I was working with Jennifer Allwood several years ago at the beginning, and she would just throw out names and programs, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm like, write that down. Like, it was all new to me. And I think that feeling of when you're behind the curve a little and you got to learn real quick and you got to know who's who and what's what, doesn't mean you have to be proficient, know everything, but it's always that awkward moment when you're like, no, I have no idea who you're talking about. Like, that didn't get you the job. Yeah. So yeah, I like that Deb said you had steady income. Like, that is a big thing out the gate for this type of job. A Facebook community manager position is steady. If you have a big client like Tamara, who has members coming in and constant content, I don't want to say constant content to put in there, and they need somebody to just manage it. It's a lot of work, and it's something to get off the business owner's plate. Do you think this is a good starting job for a lot of people?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't have a lot to compare it to, but it worked for me. I mean, it really did seem, as long as you are comfortable on Facebook and you can navigate Facebook, you can figure stuff out. And you do have to be organized. So, I have to know what's coming and kind of be ready to present it to the group. So you do sort of have to be available a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
It's not, I have to check in. I don't know if I have to, but for me, like my comfort zone is that I need to check in a couple times a day. And I've tried to set those parameters for myself. So like, I'm not checking the Facebook group at 11 o'clock at night, I try to check like, first thing in the morning, and then I'll check in the afternoon as I'm kind of going through the group. But I'm trying to think of what else. A lot of it too is trying to engage the members with each other. So like trying to helping them build relationships within the group so that it helps with that retention. Like they want to stay, even if they now are confident and they're really good at painting door hangers, like we want them to stay in the group because they have friends in the group.
Yes, they stay for the community. Oh, that's a good point. So what do you do to facilitate relationships?
So, part of like a day-to-day thing is just scrolling through the group and, trying to just make connections, like, oh, I heard you were dealing with this. Oh, well, guess what? Sue said that yesterday that she was having that problem, or things like that.
Okay.
And then the Zoom paint parties are another thing that helps.
Yeah, and you really have your finger on the pulse of what people are talking about.
Yeah.
So you're like the know-it-all.
It's helpful for Tamara. I do like a newsletter for her at the end of each week. She goes live in the clubhouse to talk about people and give high fives and, talk about problems that people are having. So I sort of keep a running record for her. She's in the community a lot, but this way she doesn't have to do that. Like I'm kind of her for that.
And that makes her look so good when she's like, hey, Allison, congratulations on your new baby. And
right.
Allison will probably end up being a fan for life, even though Tamara was busy in her job and missed it. That's awesome. I do that for Wendy Batten, but we do a monthly recap email and we pull out some of the highlights and put it in there for people. Because some people are in the group but not as active. Some people want the cliff notes. Like there's different kinds of Facebook group members. So yeah, that's a good thing. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being in here. If anyone has questions about Facebook community management, leave Megan a comment and she'll get back to you. And also, I would love for you to post Tamara's free group if we have any DIYers in the house. Go join and see what she's doing. Tamara's awesome. She is a military spouse who has just made this whole business take off like crazy. And it's so fun to watch her. And I'm so happy she hired somebody from my tribe. I was like so flattered. You should have seen how excited I was. I was telling my husband that. And he's like, oh, that sounds good. I'm like, yeah, they picked mine. Like this legit headhunting group picked my student.
And I think there's a bunch of us. I mean, I know Nicole was the one who had posted the site, but then Marilee, right, was also in the scene.
Yes. Yeah. Marilee, I think I haven't touched base with her, but she was supposed to help take over some blogging.
Yeah.
And Nicole was helping like with the blog management of that because there's a lot to, I don't know, rodeo in there. There's
a lot of your unicorns are.
Yeah, and there's a spot for everyone, like based on what they're doing. And I just want to say Facebook community management might not be for everybody, but it is a great way to get your foot in the door because you're tackling so many different things. And I did open up my course today for anybody who wants a quick win, wants to learn the skills. It's a 2-hour workshop course. You could get through it and be totally in a position like Megan to go get hired by a 6-figure entrepreneur or get some volunteer experience, help out your business friends, and start looking for those jobs. So I'll post a link to that today too. So thank you so much, Megan. It was so fun chatting.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. We'll be in touch. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.